You're listening to the British Baseball Podcast. So we pretty much got the house to ourselves. Normally my little boy likes to run in and interrupt an interview, but he's at school. So
that's a shame. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, do you know what? He's quickly becoming one of the more popular parts of the show, which probably says a lot about me and the show. If people are tuning in just to hear my little boy ask more interesting questions than I come up with, maybe I'll get him on hosting duties, but it could be a lot of Ninjago and Lego chat.
Right. Okay.
Which is pretty handy, like because Farnham's just down the road from Lego Windsor.
Right.
We're down there in December, and
okay.
I thought I think it was like 2 mile drive. We stayed in the hotel, and just like we could literally touch the home of British baseball if we wanted to, and everyone in the car just sort of looked at me like let's go to Legoland. Like the reason why we're here. Like yes, okay. Made our way down there. Excellent. So, Gary Anderson, thank you for joining the show. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. You are now the new head of performance systems for BSUK for GB softball and GB baseball. But before we get more into that, why don't we tell the good folks at home a little bit about yourself? So, who is Gary Anderson? Do you want to tell us a bit about your history and your education and your background?
Well, firstly, Matt, thank you very much for having me on. It's my pleasure, and it's a bit of an honour to be asked really to come on here. So thank you very much for that. I'll try and give you a bit of background of myself. I was born in Watford, and into quite a sporting family. Really, there's a few Olympians in my family, and others that have played sport at the highest level. And I currently now live in Milton Keynes after a career that has taken me around the world. I'm now settled in Milton Keynes with my partner, Carrie. She's a very clever individual, a psychologist, a doctor, and a senior lecturer. And we have a young daughter called Rosie. Rosie, we adopted 10 years ago now, 11 years ago now. And she's gives us immense pleasure. And I've also got 2 grown-up sons and a grandson. So everybody keeps me on my toes. And in a bit about my history into sport is that I qualified as a physiotherapist when I was younger. Quickly realised I didn't like that and moved into the field of human performance. And that's where I undertook my further academic study and my postgraduate studies. And that's probably a potted history of my life. I'm quite old now, so quite a few years behind me. So it's interesting that I've ended up here at baseball and softball.
That's interesting. You said that you had some Olympians in the family. What sports were they involved in?
Well, my cousin is Kelly Smith, the footballer. She's played for Great Britain in the Olympics, and she's also a big name in the States. Women's soccer in the States is obviously much bigger than here, or now over here it's getting big. But Kelly's quite a legend out there. And my second cousin is Matt Breton, who rowed in the Seoul Olympics for Great Britain. But I'm the only one that has a medal hanging on the wall. So, don't tell them that. They wouldn't take that too kindly.
What's your medal from?
Oh, it's I didn't earn it myself as an athlete, but as the performance director for Great Britain Bobsleigh, we won bronze in Sochi in 2014.
Great stuff. Look, I love the Winter Olympics.
Yeah,
it really is. I love it.
I'll talk more about that a bit later with some of your questions, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, how did you get into Olympic performance then?
I was originally working in professional football, and I was a failed athlete myself, and from a number of sports trying to make my name, but I never quite made it to the very top level. Fortunately, I represented my country, but never made it to the top level. So I moved into working in professional football, and after a few years doing that, I worked with some of the best managers, some of the best coaches in the world. I moved into academia as a lecturer, and just to try and give myself a bit of breathing space from the manic world of professional football. And an opportunity came up at UK Sport just when lottery funding first commenced back in the late 90s. And it gave me an opportunity to work within the Olympic system. And I joined UK Sport as a world-class coaching consultant, where I was responsible for all the coaches who had athletes that were receiving lottery funding. So at the time, a definition of a world-class coach was that they coached an athlete that was in receipt of lottery money and had a potential to win an Olympic medal. My job was to try and help those coaches then upskill themselves to become the very best coaches they could be. So that's how it linked in. And from there, I moved from UK Sport into the first performance director role at British Judo. And that was for the Athens Olympic Games.
Nice. So how did you help those coaches within that role?
Basically by looking at what their needs were and making sure that they were supported. Being a coach of a high performance athlete can be quite lonely at times. It's very demanding, and athletes need that the support of a good coach around them. But sometimes it's important that that coach gets supported as well, and that was probably my role as a mentor and there as a sounding board, and also as a facilitator to give those coaches, if they come up with a problem that needed solving, my job was to help them go out and find the solutions to that. And it was very interesting. It gave me an exposure to a lot of different sports and a lot of different coaching styles. I'm passionate about coaching and watching that athlete and coach interaction. So it gave me a good insight into that and stood me in good stead for the roles that I then took on subsequently.
That's cool. What do you think some of the biggest obstacles or challenges were then within that role?
I think it was the coaches coming on that journey with the athletes. Lottery funding at the time was new, and it was the first time that in the UK that the athletes and coaches were supported in this way. And it was off the back of Atlanta Olympic Games where the results weren't particularly great, and something needed to be done. So at the time, the government decided that they would bring in the National Lottery, and that would fund some of the elite sport. And it was a very interesting time in British sport because nobody had experienced that before. So a lot of people were brought in from other countries that had gone through this to help me. And at UK Sport, I was surrounded by a lot of Australians there because they were leading into their Olympic Games in 2000. And it was a really important time that we took everything, all the learnings from Australia that they were doing in the lead up to the Sydney Games, and making sure that we implemented the very best of that. So it was certainly a time that stood me in good stead.
That's cool. You also mentioned as well about working with some of the top class managers and coaches. What did you learn from them? What were your takeaways from being alongside those people?
That everybody has a different style, and certain people's attention to detail, it amazed me. Going into professional football, professional football was seen as being behind the curve in terms of their development, but I didn't find that the case. I had the pleasure of working with and I will name names here. I had the pleasure of working with Graham Taylor. And people like Ray Clements, and it's God rest them now. But I learned so much. Their attention to detail, certainly with Ray, his attention to detail from his time at Liverpool when Bill Shankly was manager. I used to sit in the dressing room before a game and listen to Ray's talk about the opponents and how he knew every single player inside out. And when the game then started, you'd recognise one line that Ray had said that that one of their players had done. You thought, what, that's what Ray said. And to be the best prepared like that was that's something I'd like to take into any role that I have now. Yeah,
that's cool. Nice one. So I suppose one of the questions is why sports and why high performance? What's the appeal behind it?
I often describe my roles in sport as a lifestyle, never a career or a job, because it takes over your life, and you've got to be if anybody that has any aspirations of going into high performance has to understand that it is a lifestyle. And I'm absolutely passionate about people becoming the very best versions of themselves. And I love watching coaching behaviours and the interactions between the staff and the athletes. And if I go to a Premier League game now, I'm watching that game. I'm focused on the dugout. I'm not focused on what's going on and on the pitch necessarily. I'm looking at the instructions being given by the coaches and the players' reactions to that, because I just love watching that behaviour. And at the top end, winning or losing is determined by such small margins. And I like to see how people cope with that, and making sure that when I'm talking to athletes, when I'm talking to other coaches, that I'm the best prepared I can be as well.
That's interesting. You mentioned as well about it becoming your lifestyle. What have you had to sacrifice then to achieve your goals and your dreams within your profession?
I never see it as a sacrifice. It's a choice I've made, and I am very, very fortunate to work the way that I do in the role that I do. There are a lot of people that would love to be working in a high performance sport, and I'm very lucky that I'm one of those. So I'm always grateful for the fact that that's my role. On certain days, if you ask me that question, it's. I would give you a different answer. When I first started, I used to think about quitting every single day, but it's got much better now because I only think about quitting once a week. So I'm very privileged, and it's an honor to work in high performance sport. And whatever country I'm working for, when I go out to a major championships or Olympic Games, I'm very, very proud of that. And but it is a lifestyle. It's not a job.
That's good. So how has all this Olympic journey then led you down the road towards BSUK?
Well, I attempted retirement, and that didn't last very long. The last Olympic cycle took a lot out of me emotionally and physically, and my health suffered. And the Sochi Olympic Games, which I referred to earlier, really did take its toll on me. And the story about Sochi and how the medal came to Great Britain is well documented. And since then, I've campaigned for coaches and performance directors to be supported much better by the high performance system in the UK. Elite sport, by its nature, is tough. It goes with the territory, but and it's often brutal. But it must never, ever be destructive to anybody. So after Sochi, partial retirement was on the cards, and I took it for a short time, but I didn't last very long. There's only so many days that I can go fishing a week, and I was quickly looking for a new role, and I was alerted to the role at BSUK by a colleague of mine at the British Olympic Association, Mike Hay, who said, "Look, I think this is something you should look at. You're not doing particularly well by not working, so why don't you have a look at this?" And I had informal chats initially, and then went through the formal interview process, and I was really, really impressed with the two sports. I met the two head coaches of baseball and softball, was extremely impressed with them. I was very impressed with BSUK and their positioning with softball and baseball and what their role was. And I decided that to take this further when they wanted to have further discussions with me, and here I am.
That's interesting. So what can they expect from you then? What you're going to bring to the table?
I'd like to bring my experience of baseball and softball are the developing sports in the terms of the Olympic arena, certainly in Great Britain. I think that there's a big opportunity for both of those sports to do very, very well. There's a number of ways that we can do that. There's obviously at the moment there a high proportion of the players that play for the national sides at senior level are based in the US and North America. Part of my role here and part of my desire is to look at some of the more homegrown talent, and that's not going to happen overnight, but certainly that's something that we need to look for in the future and build those relationships with some of the North American colleges that we have and some of the MLB teams, and look at how that can help the homegrown talent as well. And what people can expect of me is my immersion into the sports, and I'm learning very, very quickly. But the fact that I'm not an expert in baseball and softball is an advantage, because I ask some pretty dumb questions, and I can get away with it because I'm not an expert in those areas. But what I can do is bring my experience of high performance sport and the Olympic environment, and how that can then be integrated into the current programs.
That's interesting. So with you being that involved and invested in sport, do you find time to watch any sports as a hobby, or is it just all business? Like you mentioned before about you can't go to a football game without like watching the dugout to see what there are. Do you find any relaxation within sports?
Yeah, I'm in watching sport. I'm a big Watford fan, soccer fan, and well, I don't know whether you can call that enjoyable. Certainly, last year wasn't enjoyable with our relegation out of the Premier League. But I've been a season ticket holder at Watford since 1967, when I first went with my grandfather, and I've maintained that. Not always been able to go all the time, because I've been based around the world and working in professional football as well. It's it's difficult to go to all the games, but I've maintained my relationship with Watford, and I was fortunate enough to work there for a short period of time, but never ever work for the team that you support, because you have a very strong opinion, and that comes through sometimes, and it didn't always help me. But yeah, I watch any sport, Matt. I'll watch any sport, but I am often drawn not necessarily to the action happening on the field. I'm drawn to watching what the coaches are doing, what the players are doing when they're warming up, and how the strategy is unfolding in front of me.
Can you tell them by watching someone's pre-game if do you get a sense where you're going to win or lose by watching the warm-ups on the field?
I certainly get a sense of the approach to the game, and I don't think you could ever predict the outcome of any sport, because if you start doing that, I'd work for a betting company. But I can't. And often you can have the very best warm up, you can have the very best preparation, but as soon as the start of that game, the first pitch or the whistle goes to the start of a soccer game, things can unfold not as you expect them. So it's that's I think that's the beauty of it, isn't it? You don't really know what you're going to get until that starting gun goes.
Oh, well, as a Bolton fan, I remember when Bolton played Watford in the playoffs and you battered us.
I remember that very well, Matt. Should we talk more about that?
No,
okay.
Thanks. But I remember seeing that back on the TV when they walked out the tunnel. I was like, yeah, now I can see why we got beat.
Yeah, you can. I like to see that as well when players take the field, and are they looking at the opposition? Are they looking straight ahead, or what they're doing? It's all that psychology that falls into that. I love all that.
Yeah. So with you being involved in a lot of traveling, where's been some of your favorite places to go around the world? What's been some of the highlights?
Well, certainly with bobsleigh, I'm going to say St. Moritz in Switzerland. It's that is like the Monaco Grand Prix of bobsleigh is St. Moritz, and it's a place that I could never ever afford to go to myself if I wasn't involved in sport. So St. Moritz has a special place in my heart. But certainly in North America, upstate New York and Vancouver, Calgary, and Utah were big winter sports areas. But in terms of summer sport, I think Athens Olympic Games is very, very special. The birthplace of the Olympic Games, and to be representing my country as a performance director at the Athens Olympics Games are very, very special. And everywhere I go has really good memories. Russia has good memories for me in Sochi in the event of a medal, but in terms of what it brought to me personally, it's not a place that I particularly want to return, or I don't think I'm able to return there because of being an official witness in the McLaren case for that. But everywhere I go, I bring back memories, Matt. And as I say, I refer to it again. I'm really fortunate that my jobs have taken me around the world.
Yeah, Yeah, it sounds like an incredible journey. It's an envious career to have. Beats working behind this desk. So with you now being involved in baseball and softball, how much are you a fan of baseball and softball before you took on the position?
I'll be totally honest. I watched it, but I didn't really understand what was going on. I knew that. I knew the basics, but I'm learning very quickly now. I've made all my subscriptions to the major league channels. My Friday nights are spent on Apple TV watching that, and I'm learning very, very quickly. And I probably know a little bit more than I let on to people, because me asking questions confirms things. I haven't yet decided what team to support. I'm due out to the Jackie Robinson Center in Florida later on this year to look at forming a partnership with a major league out there for British teams to use the facilities. Oh. So no doubt whatever team is there when I go out there using the facility will probably get my vote as the team that I follow. But I'll take any suggestions from anybody of who I should follow in the major league.
I'm sure you'll get a couple. I can guarantee. I know he's going to message you with something, might be bird related. So when you're watching the games on the Fridays, what are you looking for then when you're watching these games? Again, are you watching? Well, I don't know. I don't have Apple TV, so I don't know what the dugout access is. Are you still watching the dugouts from there, or are you watching anything else?
Yeah, well, I get plenty of time to make notes during the commercial breaks. I can tell you that. I'm watching. I like the pitcher and the catcher's interaction. I love seeing that, and the signals that are being given, and the visuals that are exchanged there. And the coaches in the dugout. That when it pans to that fascinates me. It really does. I keep on about it. I know it gets boring after a while, but I love watching that and seeing their reaction to things. Are they reacting to somebody making a great play? Are they reacting to someone that maybe doesn't make the plays they need to? And that's what I look for. The athleticism of players. A big part of my work at the moment is what they call a "what it takes to win" document. Is what makes a top baseball player? What makes a top baseball team? Okay, and I know it's different. Each team's different. Each player is different, but you can form an opinion based upon the physicality of someone and the athletic abilities of someone, how fast they can run, how much they can lift, etc. All of those things is what I look at, and I look at baseball and I see all the different physical characteristics in whatever position they're playing, and that fascinates me. That really does fascinate me.
That's cool. So what do your family think about your career, and what have they done to support you in your journey?
I think that's a question for them. I'm very, very fortunate. My partner at the moment, Carrie, she competed at a high level herself. She works in sport herself. She works on the BBC Olympic Dreams program as a consultant. She works in as a senior lecturer, and she's a psychologist working with a lot of sports people. So she understands high performance. She understands the fact that I might not be around all the time. She understands that I'm on the phone at 11, 12 o'clock at night to the US because of the time zone difference. She gets that. What I am conscious of, and I've not always been conscious of it in the past, is the family support me, and sometimes I think my job is the be all and end all of everything. And often in the past, I've probably neglected the family in a way that I shouldn't have done. And I'm trying to make that up to them now, but they are totally supportive of me, and they put up with such nonsense from me of when whatever sport I'm in, if we've lost a game or whatever, they put up with that nonsense that I come, and if we win a game and I come bowling through the door with the medal jangling or whatever, they put up with that nonsense as well. And you know what? They bring me down to earth with great humility. It's whether I've whatever happens, that there are things needed doing at home. So that brings you back down to earth, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I suppose your mates think you've got one of the best jobs as well. But do you have any friends that are not into sports and what do they think of your job?
Yeah, I'm a big fisherman, Matt. I go fishing a lot, and that's my little escape. And I go fishing with people who wouldn't know a cricket bat from a football. And it's really nice that I can talk to those people without them, asking questions about sport, because sometimes I don't particularly like talking about the job. It's like anybody, when you get home, you want to get away from your job. A lot of my friends are amateur sports people, and they get home from work, they're rushing to get to training, they're rushing to get to the athletics track, they're rushing to get to the rugby field. So I don't do that. When I get home, I probably don't do sport like I would do as an amateur sportsman. So that's a little bit different. And I guess my friends see me rather strange in that way, that I'm not at the track, I'm not at the football field, I'm not at the rugby club during the evening. So I'm trying to do my other things.
Yeah. I need to ask. I know it's not baseball related, but I do love the Winter Olympics, and I just want to go back to the bobsleigh stuff for a moment. So if you'll please, anyone that's thinking, oh, this isn't baseball, just give me a minute, because I really want to know more about this. The bronze medal with the GB bobsleigh in the Sochi games. Can you talk about that experience and what that achievement meant to you?
Yeah, I joined bobsleigh on a plane coming back from Vancouver in 2010 after the Vancouver Olympics. I sat with the chef de mission of Great Britain, and they said to me, look, this opening is coming up in bobsleigh. We think that with your background in speed and power sports, you would be the ideal person. And I took that home with me. I talked to my partner about it, and she said, look, if you want to do it, then find out more. I then went to some trusted individuals who said to me, don't touch it with a flipping barge pole, right? So I went back to bobsleigh and said, yeah, I'll take the job. We had a plan to win a medal in 2018, so in 8 years' time, and we looked at the gap analysis, as I call it, of how far we were away from medal, and we put together a performance team, a project team. We called it Project 50 because it was 50 years since Great Britain had won a gold medal in bobsleigh, and part of that performance team, and I'm going to name drop again now, was people like Sir Clive Woodward, Mike Hay from the BOA, and we had Mark Carter, Scott Alloway, and Scott Drawer, all big people in British sport that were part of this project. And we looked at how we could win a medal. And it came down to the fact we needed the very, very best coaches we could find. We needed the very best equipment we could get. And we needed the athletes that could accelerate that sled off the top of the start line in Sochi the fastest it could possibly go, right? So a bit like Cool Runnings, it wouldn't be bobsleigh without mentioning Cool Runnings, would it? A bit like Cool Runnings, sprinters make the best bobsleighers. So we went out and I found the best sprints coach I could find. I found the best bobsleigh coach I could find. I found the best strength and conditioning coaches we could find. We then went out and found the fastest athletes. And we tried to make that work. And it took 4 years to make it work. We went to Sochi knowing that we would be top six. We expected to be top six. We'd already won medals at World Cups. We'd already won medals at major championships. But Olympic Games, we expected to be top six. And we got really, really close to the podium. We were 5/100ths of a second off bronze medal. Okay, after 4 miles of racing, 4 minutes of racing, we were 5/100ths of a second away.
Oh,
and it didn't sit easy with me because everything we did the very best we could. And I have a strap line with any sport that I work with, is to be the best prepared technically, tactically, physically, and mentally we can be. Right. I use it in baseball, I use it in softball, I used it in football, I used it in bobsleigh. And if we do that, no one can ask any more of us, because we've done the very best we can. This result we crossed the finish line, and it was a great result. Okay, don't get me wrong, it was a great result in the Russians' backyard. 2 Russian teams finished above us, and we were 5/100ths off the bronze. It didn't sit well with me because I knew that we were better than the 2 Russian teams. And it wasn't long before rumours were abound of this Russian doping scandal, which went on to be an Oscar-winning film in Icarus, the McLaren report, Russia banned from all sports competition, international federations banned, etc. And I was asked to be a witness in this case, and because whilst I was in Sochi and in the lead up to Sochi, we witnessed things that we weren't comfortable with, and I never rested easy after those Olympic Games because I knew the result wasn't what it should have been, because there were so many things that were unexplained to me. And then the McLaren report, which discovered all this doping scandal in Russia, systemic doping, and doping which was controlled by big powers in Russia. You only have to read the book by Rodchenkov to know how widespread this was and how big it was. And it took its toll on me because I went through this witness program where I was giving evidence against Russia basically, and not just me, there was a number of others that were involved in this. And it quickly transpired that Great Britain were in line to get this retrospective medal awarded. But what happened there, Matt, is that those athletes that had rightly deserved this medal lost their opportunity to stand on the podium.
Yeah.
And you can never recover that. The riches of funding, the riches of sponsorship were lost because of this doping scandal. But the thing for me, and the difficult thing for me, was the Russian athletes that were implicated were also friends of mine. You can't be on a tour with these guys without getting to know them. And to this day, I'm still in contact with some of them. But I've never, ever mentioned the issue because I don't want to lose their friendship. I'm not certain that they had any choice in what they were doing. I don't even know if they did it. They knew they were doing it. But I've never mentioned it to them. The result is what it is now, and it's rightfully the result because it was proven beyond any doubt that this was happening, and it was massive, and it really was, and it really took its toll on me, and I fell out of love with sport for a little while, because of that, but it didn't take me long to get my appetite back. But I feel for the athletes because they were the ones that missed out. I can deal with it. I went through a period of where my mental health was really stressed because of it. And that's why I campaign now for coaches and performance directors to be supported better. But I'm the medal was awarded, and everything was was fine after that. But I don't think I'll ever be invited back to Russia again.
That is really fascinating stuff, by the way. But let's bring it back down to the baseball side of things. Well, keeping it Olympic based as well, like hopefully we're going to get it. Well, after France did what they did, decided to have breakdancing instead of so it's still hopefully baseball in the future. Can you talk then about the Getting Stuck In program? What are the challenges of upscaling and upskilling to make a sport ready for the Olympics?
Yeah, I think the first thing we need to get is the organising committee of 2028 to confirm the inclusion of baseball and softball. The sounds that are coming from the organising committee, the sounds that are coming from the IOC are very, very positive. But until they actually make that announcement, we're still working on the presumption. In terms of the athletes that we have, I believe in both sports that we have at our disposal athletes that are good enough, to qualify for the Olympic Games. My job is then to make sure that when we go to those Olympic Games, that we can produce the best performance we can. And once you get to the Olympic Games, anything can happen. And I genuinely believe I wouldn't be sitting in the role I'm sitting in now if I didn't believe that we can enhance our world rankings and at least become approaching medal zone. Yeah. And when I finally do retire and go fishing every day, I want to leave that legacy that, that can continue, that, the sports in Great Britain can be medal zone at Olympic Games. There's no reason they can't be. There's absolutely no reason at all. And it's a great responsibility I have, and a great honor that baseball and softball have given me that role to do that. But getting the sports ready is the first thing we need to do is professionalize our outlook a little bit. And I don't mean everybody gets paid or anything like that, although with UK sport funding, if we start doing well and we get further investment, then of course we need professional people in professional roles. But it's the approach to it. Before you can be professional, you need to approach it professionally. And the academy programs, which will be a big part of this, is we need to align those academies with the national squads. We need our national coaches integrating and coaching on our performance academies. And one, that will develop the homegrown talent, and also it would allow our coaches to develop as well, because as well as developing our athletes, we need to develop our coaches. And those academy programs then need multiple graduation and exit routes for athletes. Do they want to go on to be on an NCAA program? Do they want to go and play pro ball, with a major league club, or going out to Japan and some of the fantastic programs that Japan run? Yeah. Or they get to the end of the academy program and they've not quite make it. Maybe they're good coaches, maybe they're good umpires, maybe they're good administrators. So keep them in the sport. All that knowledge, you keep it within the sport. So the academy programs are a big part of preparing the sports for Olympic success and bringing people out through that graduation process in whatever they want to be afterwards. It's a very exciting time for that.
Yeah, indeed. BSUK has run academies in the past to help develop talent. Sorry. Can you talk about what that'll look like going forward?
Yeah, we're just about to announce the new system. The global pandemic really, it affected every sport, and certainly academy programs, which were probably the first to suffer in any sport. The young people were the first to be hit with this. We have a cohort of athletes that between the ages of 15 to 19 at the moment that have never seen international competition because of a global pandemic. They've not been able to travel. There have been no competition for them. So we have a cohort that has missed out on that development opportunity. And that's where some of our academy work should bridge that gap again now, to give those athletes an opportunity to get back into the international scene. I can't give away too much now because we're still got to get this signed off, but there's going to be an academy program for both baseball and softball, and a high performance academy system for both baseball and softball. And the national coaches are going to have a big part to play in that. And the academies are going to be aligned to the national teams programs in both sports. And I want to make sure that any talent we discover in the UK is given the opportunity, the same as what talent that we discover in the US and the North America or wherever in the world. And the people in the Great Britain are given the same opportunity to develop. And I would love to name a roster where a number of those athletes are from homegrown talent going forward. And that's the objective of our academy program. But we're still going to scout and recruit from the US, because if the eligibility of people to represent Great Britain at the Olympic Games, that rule is there, and we need to make sure that we're getting the best athletes in a UK and Great Britain shirt.
Yeah. Is that how you're going to measure the success then? Like how we know when you've achieved your goal?
I think success can be measured in a number of ways. First and foremost, it's the development of an individual, of a person. And if people are leaving that academy program by the exit routes that I've said, and that they are going on to become better people, then that's a success marker of the academies. If the national teams enhance their world ranking. That's a success marker. If we qualify teams for the Olympic Games, that's a success marker. But it's not the be all and end all. It's looking at the holistic program as well. I would see the success being: are we developing young people? Are we developing people into the sport to fulfill all the roles, not just of an athlete, of all the roles? And yeah, that's a legacy that I want to leave.
That's cool. So you've got a few things in the pipeline. You're going to Barcelona with the GB men's national team.
Women's softball, Barcelona.
Sorry, women's softball first. So that's
yeah.
Can you talk about what are you most looking forward to within this first journey away then? With GB?
Okay, well, there's two big things on my horizon at the moment, and that is the women's fast pitch softball European Championships in Barcelona, which our training camp starts at this weekend, where we're basing the squad at Bisham Abbey, the National Sports Centre at Bisham Abbey, and at Farnham Park. So we have 9 days of preparation in the UK. We then move to Spain for 4 or 5 days preparation with games that are already organised. The coaches have done a great job in organising fixtures while we're in Spain, in readiness for our competition. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing how the team operate, and that will tell me a lot. I've already had the interaction with those athletes over by Skype and over the phone. But I can't wait to see them in person and to see how I'm very much taking a observation role there, where letting the coaches get on with it, letting the athletes get on with it, and during the debriefs, that's when we can start to shape things going forward. And for baseball, we're just eagerly awaiting for the World Baseball Classic qualifier to be announced, because trust me, Drew Spencer and his coaching team are itching to get at that. They really are. I've been so impressed with Drew and his team. I knew a couple of them before I even joined the sport, because they're well known in their fields. So I knew a couple of the coaches and support staff there, and they have a lot of respect for myself. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what baseball can do, because everything I've seen so far from Drew and his team has been nothing short of exceptional. It really has, and they're in a really strong place. If we can get some major league teams to play ball with us and to release some players, and for us to get our scouting right of our opponents, and getting our scouting right in identifying players that are eligible to represent Great Britain, I'm so excited by that, Matt. And that's not just me saying that for the listeners here. That really is what is keeping me going on this at the moment, because I know how well they can do if they get it right.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Like, I have occasional conversations with some of the players and coaches, and everyone's after it. Everyone's chomping at the bit, and it's going to be good. It's going to be good to watch. So the final, what's the one thing that you want the baseball and softball community to take away from your involvement in the sport?
I really want to make a meaningful difference. If I can't do that, I shouldn't be here. And I will work that out for myself. Before anybody tells me, I'll be able to work that out for myself. But I want to make a meaningful difference. Every day I reflect on what I'm doing, to understand the consequences of what I do. Every time I make a decision, there's a consequence. I need to understand what that consequence is for people. But everything I do is to try and make the programs better. I want the athletes and coaches to flourish. And as I've said before, my legacy is to start a journey, and then for someone to pick that baton up and run with it, because I'm by the time we get to the place where we dominate the world of both baseball and softball, I will be long retired. So you'll need to write to me and tell me all about that. But I'm initially now, in the short term, is I want to help professionalize the setups in both baseball and softball, make sure the coaches have everything they need in order to execute the plan, and those athletes then are supported that journey.
Excellent. Gary, that's all I've got for today. Thanks so much for your time, and I must thank Chris Knoblock as well for setting up this meeting and for sending over some additional questions. That was really helpful. It's tradition on the show to give the guests the last word, so the mic is all yours if you want to give any shout outs or anything you want to add.
No shout outs, because I will tend to forget someone and they'll be on the phone to me straight away. But Matt, thank you very much for inviting me on. It's an honor and a pleasure for me to do that. What I'd like to do is follow it up in a few months' time. So everything that I've said I would do, hold me to account on that and say, has that happened? Has that happened? Because we're all in this together. Everybody's in this together. Nobody that I've met so far wants things to go wrong. They all want it to go right. We all have different ways of doing it, but we all want it to go right, and we all want the same thing. If we all work together on that, and there will be disagreements, there will be people that don't agree with the way we're doing things. But if we keep on focused, the end goal of where we want to get, and we work together on that, then anything is possible. So please hold me to account to that, Matt, and have me back on and question me, and we can talk more about Watford versus Bolton.
No. We'll do all the other stuff. We don't need to go back that far in the past. But thanks again so much, Gary. Pleasure's all mine. So thanks, it's now approaching nearly 1 o'clock. I'm going to go and watch the GB under-18s do their thing. J-Rod and the boys are going to hopefully beat the Turkish outfit today. And
absolutely.
I'll chat to you very soon. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye.